You keep saying that you are ready for your next level, but your old default program is running your show. And that's why you're not getting what it is that you want. Don't get distracted by your old default programming. You know that little voice that whispers, you can't have this, you're not chosen. What if you're not good enough? What if someone else is better? They're probably better off going to someone else than getting your advice. You can't be the coach that you desire. This is too big. This is too extreme. Yeah, you can have it. Absolutely, you can do it. Oh, actually, no, never mind. You probably can't. You tried and you're getting these results. Look at the results that you're getting. Obviously, it's not working out for you. Obviously, it's easier for some other person, but this can't happen for you. You know that story? It has a lot to say. It's a full-on narration, and this is what's blocking you from your success, and that's what this video is all about. This is a must-watch if you would like to manifest something in your life. Hi, my name is Jenna, and I'm all about changing your default program because this is the only thing that blocked me from getting what it is that I wanted. I worked hard. I listened to videos. I implemented. I did everything I possibly could, but I did not know that my default system was so rigid in this belief that I can't have what it is that I wanted, and that's why I was struggling so much. I had anxiety, overwhelm, insecurity, the whole 9 yards. I was struggling with my body image. My relationships weren't solid. Nothing about my life was really going the way that I was hoping. Even though I was being positive, I was being happy, I was joyful, I was exploring, I was doing things that I enjoyed, still wasn't working because your beliefs run the show. You cannot affirm, you cannot play and be joyful and be happy without having your belief system change and have it authentically work in your favor. I was covering it up. I was pretending like I was joyful and happy, but really inside I was waiting for someone to validate me. I was waiting for an affirmation from somebody so I could feel approved of and relax in. I was totally at the mercy of some other people. This isn't you living in your security. When you are secure, you get everything that it is that you want with ease. And that is what I want to help you get to right now. So when you are running an old story, you know this because your mind is condensed. And what I mean by that is you have this expectation, these assumptions for how life is going to go. You just assume when something happens, you're like, yep, okay, well, obviously it's not going to work out. You know, I've seen this before. I've been in this relationship pattern before. As soon as you recognize that there's a pattern, I want you to identify what the story is behind that pattern. Where have you seen it before? Where do you think it came from? Why do you think you're experiencing it again? These are things that are important for you to really recognize. It's getting to know you today, not yesterday, not who you are tomorrow, but who you are right now. Once you understand, this is how my mind is wired. Like, this is just how my mind. So for example, I was just working with a client. She has an eating disorder. She's had this disordered eating pattern for over 15 years. And she was saying that she's scared. She's scared to let go of it because she's conditioned to believe that her worth comes from her appearance. And if she gains a little bit of weight, what will that say about her? Where will she fit in life? How will she find control? How will she find ease? This was her default pattern. This was her story. So when you understand that this is the way that your mind is wired. So her mind, when she looks at food, immediately goes to calculating calories, immediately goes to, oh my gosh, how many almonds are in here? I should only have a few, and I think there's a handful, and I'm afraid to eat this because I don't know how that's going to do or how that's going to affect my body, and I'm not good. So she would stay home and not go out with people because she was afraid that those social interactions would lead to food. Then she'd have to eat something, and then her body would gain weight, and where would she be then? She was so fearful and so conditioned by the way that her mind was wired that she wasn't even enjoying simple things in her life, like going out with a friend, having a coffee with a friend, because that would lead to added calories. Her mind was just that wired. But at her root, she was so kind. She was so funny. She was so enjoyable to be around that it was so sad for me to watch her restrict her life so much. And this is what I mean by your consciousness is restricted. You have a default program that thinks in one way and one way only. When we work to expand your default program, we expand your consciousness. And this allows you to start believing in things outside of your comfort zone, outside of your normal way of looking. So she had a comfort zone that was pretty rigid, pretty small. And anything outside of that was really, really challenging because of the way that her mind was wired. I keep coming back to this phrase, and I want you to own it too. The way my mind is wired. This was the way her mind was wired. Understand how your mind is wired. How does your mind react with this happens, when this happens, when this happens? Because it's going to be different than when it happens to somebody else. And when you expand your consciousness enough, you expand this default program enough, your old belief system will feel so unnatural to you that you can't even find it anymore. That feeling for me, I had this insatiable belief that I was not enough, that I just would never be chosen because of my upbringing, because of the way that my mind was wired. I had experiences. Up to 3rd grade, I couldn't read. 3 to 6 could read but couldn't comprehend. After that, my grades improved, but my self-esteem did not, because I stayed with that identity of being someone who got laughed at for trying, who did everything she possibly could and just could not get the results that she wanted. I kept thinking that that was me. I was this person where things didn't happen for easily. When I changed my default, I started to talk about myself, and I've talked about this in other videos, becoming chosen. That I was chosen. I was chosen. And when that became my default, and I securely locked that in, and it still defaults back to that to this day, which is why I get instant manifestations, I'm able to identify that I had this idea and this belief system around the idea that I wasn't enough. I've changed it now. I'm chosen. And now everything that happens to me, as soon as it happens, I go, oh, it doesn't matter. I'm chosen. I'm chosen. So I don't second guess. So when my partner does something that upsets me, instead of reacting, I go, oh, I'm chosen. This isn't him shutting me down. He's just had a long day at work. I'm chosen. And that has dramatically shifted our entire relationship. This will shift everything. It will shift your money, your finances, and your health once you start to do this. So with my client who had been going through this eating disorder for so long, her default program was wired so fixated on her appearance and her fear of calories and food, we had to work slowly. We had to work around this. And this is what you have to do too, is you have to understand this is how your mind is wired. How are we going to subtly work to unblock you? That's the only thing that happened. You're either in resistance and you're not getting what it is that you want, or you're in flow and the momentum is coming and you get what it is that you want. Resistance or non-resistance. We're aiming for non-resistance. So what's blocking you? For her, we had to go through a series of blocks. There was a lot of resistance. You might have the same thing too. Nothing's wrong with that. It's how your mind is wired based off the trauma you've been through, the experiences that you've had, the people in your life that have influenced you. None of these things are bad. They're all just contributors. But we have to understand how that contributor has added and affected the way that your mind is wired. Once you do this, you get everything that it is that you want. You don't depend on anyone. You don't need any validation from outside sources. And you are on fire. You get everything. What I really want you to hear is that you can break free. And you can manifest in anything that it is that you desire. There's nothing off limits for you. It's only off limits because of the way that your mind is wired. So here's what we got to do. We have to understand that you have willpower. And this is the most important piece of it all. Your mind has a story and you have an observation of it. But you are not that story. So I had a story that I was still that 3rd grade kid who never got chosen, who was ostracized, who was at the learning, had to go to extra classes, had to get the resource teacher to help her. I stayed with that story, but I wasn't that story anymore. I was a grown adult that had straight A's, that was in university, that was doing very well, and I still owned this little part of me. I played small because of it. You're doing the same thing. You're doing the same thing. So when you understand what you're doing, your default that you're holding on to, that's the work. That's the belief system that we change. That's where we start. Understanding these little pieces, understanding what's blocking you, what's your resistance, and then working to unblock that flow. It's that simple. It's not easy, but it's that simple, because you're destined and deserving to get everything that it is that you want with ease. You don't have to struggle. You don't have to wait long. You don't have to interfere with anyone else. You don't have to depend on anyone else either. You have to be willing to grow daily. When you're on your manifesting journey, who you are today is not who you're going to be tomorrow if you're doing it right. And who you are the next. That's why I have a video being posted Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays to help make sure you're in alignment and you're growing. Continuously learning where your default is lying today. Where is it situated? How is it helping you? How is it serving you? How is it holding you back? Once we get here, we can change everything. And when we start to do this, we expand your consciousness. Then your old identity is too small. It doesn't fit anymore. It doesn't feel right anymore. It doesn't feel right for me to think anything else but I'm chosen. And that shows up in my relationships. And I have the best relationships with everyone, my platonic friends, my family, everything, including your intimate relationships. Everything's going to be affected by this. It's all coming down to you growing every single day, becoming a better version of yourself every single day, learning, letting pieces go, adding pieces in. This is the whole point. You're not going to become everything that it is that you're ever going to become today. You don't want to. So enjoy the journey, enjoy the unfolding, because where you're going is epic. And what you get is whatever it is that you desire, because you're that worthy.